for the product owner part 2, product owner pitfalls 2. So the product owner is the key word here, and we certainly would like to focus on who owns the product. And you can look at the subject differently as well, kind of what product owner should focus on. Pitfalls to avoid, whenever say we this is something to avoid, then people will have more focus there. That's why the subject is written that way. Otherwise, this is all focus on the product owner. So let's start. We have Vijay as well with us. Vijay, would you like to give very brief introduction?
Hi, friends. Yeah, I have played multiple roles throughout my life. Started as a developer, and then I also played as a product owner for quite some time. I'm still a product owner for my company almost since last 5 years. I also played a discovery role for BBC Media way back somewhere around 2006. So I got a lot of experience. I also coach many of the product owners since I am coach with multiple organizations, sometimes in between like Sony, Bank of New York Mellon, currently Siemens. So yeah, I bring in that experience of me being a product owner as well as coaching the product owners. Yes, that's it.
Great, great. A little bit about myself. I have 20 plus years of experience, 10 plus in Agile, and more focus right now on the Agile transformation, working as an Agile coach and trainer for one of the financial institution as a consultant, and a bunch of certifications as well. So I make sure that I invest right amount of time and money into myself, which is really working well. On personal side, I like chess, solving puzzle, and Sanskrit. Yeah, Sanskrit. I think last week I gave Subhashitam Sanskritam, which is run by IIT Roorkee, correspondence course online nowadays. So the third level, so it's working well. Okay, so let's look at the agenda for today. Who is product owner, roles and responsibilities, pitfalls to avoid. We did cover few last time and few more this time because this one is very key role, and then we certainly would like to give more focus to it. And then do ask questions in between as well. At the end, we will have enough time to ask questions and answers. So this one we already covered last time, but some of you might not have joined the last session. So very quickly, I will go through this one. One of the key role in Scrum framework. It has lots of responsibility, and it will get the requirement from n number of sources, and then they will have to figure it out that which one need to put front so that we maximize the return on investment. Focus is more on the what part. They work very closely with stakeholders, customers. Probably 50% of time will go into meeting customers and stakeholders, and rest 50% with the team. That's very critical. And they are the one who will create the product vision, which is very compelling, and then we'll make sure the people are fall in love with the product. So the internal motivation is always there, right? And then obviously owns the quality of deliverables. He is the one who will accept or reject the work. So it's very critical. As mentioned just now, they get the requirement. So they will work with different people. They will work with customers, end users, user group. They will keep a close eye on competitors, what they are going to release, what they have released, regulatory requirements, stakeholders. They will do some research as well. They will read Gartner, Forrester report and other stuff. Seminar, conferences are other source of information. So they are getting all these detailed requirements from different people, different groups, different areas, and they will make sure that they combine together, and then they prioritize the backlog. So all these items will go into backlog, and then they will have to figure it out. How do we maximize the return on investment? That's the key aspect here. So it's a very, very important role. Again, who is the product owner? The defines and prioritize product features, release dates and content, fully responsible for prioritizing features according to value, changing the priorities or features, right? That is one of the benefit of Scrum, that you can change the priority, not within the sprint, but obviously for the next sprint, certainly would like to change something, you have the option, and then the product owner is the key person here. Okay, let's do a very quick exercise on the roles. I encourage everyone to speak up. Who is responsible for each of these activities? Okay, sprint progress. Who do you think is responsible? You can unmute your mic and then just say, who do you think is responsible for all these activities? Who do you think is responsible for sprint progress?
The master.
Development team.
Yeah,
Team.
development team mostly, and then Scrum Master will facilitate them. Yep. More on the why team and not Scrum Master in later on one of the session we will do, and then we'll cover. What about the illicit features? Who will give the descriptions, more details to features and the requirements?
Product owner.
Product owner.
Yeah, that's correct. Who will prioritize the work?
Product owner.
Product owner.
Yeah, that's good. Decide on a release date, when we are going to release.
Business.
Any
Product
other
owner.
answers? Yeah, again, this will be product owner. So why product owner? Let's come back to that on the last point. What about accepting or rejecting work?
Product owner.
Yeah, assigning work.
It's team, development team. itself.
Correct, development team itself. Okay, some tricky ones. Solve a problem or impediments.
Scrum master. Servant leader.
Okay, so any other answers? Because what I think is development team would be
Yeah, team will be the primary like
correct.
one.
But impediments.
Yeah,
Whole responsibility is Scrum master.
Yes,
He'll
good
make sure-
discussion here. Yeah,
he will make sure impediments are resolved. If team needs his help, they will refer it to Scrum Master. Then he or she needs to help the team.
correct, correct. See, even the impediments will be at a different level, right? If it is a team level, probably self-organized team itself will resolve on its own. They don't need actually Scrum Master. But if the impediments they are not able to resolve on their own, or it's outside the team, then the Scrum Master will come into picture. Correct? Okay, submit a feature.
Team.
A bit
PO.
tricky one. A team, that's correct answer, nothing wrong in it.
What exactly you mean by submit a feature?
Yeah, add items into backlog.
Anyone can add.
Scrum
Wonderful.
team.
Wonderful. Anyone, but what is the caveat here?
Scrum team.
So anybody, even like if the development team or Scrum Master or other stakeholders also can add features, or they can add items to the product backlog. But the caveat here is only product owner can prioritize. That's the key part.
Yes.
See, remember this, right? These all can add, they can talk to product owner, or they can directly add items to the product backlog. But it is up to product owner to decide which one to move first and other stuff. I have a very interesting example here on the how do you do the prioritization. That is also one of the pitfalls. So we are going to talk about. If I don't talk about it, then do remind me. But that's very good. I think we are very good and charged up on this one. So these are the pitfalls we already discussed last time. So this one should be when we talk about what Scrum Master should focus on. So these are the items, like you have to negate it again, so it becomes positive, and then you have to look for requirements. I'm rephrasing in a positive way. Requirements should be communicated face to face, not through handoffs, not through Word documents and other stuff. They should be available at least 50% for the team. They should be there to answer their questions and other stuff, help them why this is being done. The requirement should be continuous. Otherwise, the productivity, team morale, and everything gets impacted, even the work-life balance and other stuff. What I mean to say, the requirements, they have to make sure the requirement, the flow of requirements is available. It shouldn't happen then one sprint you have too much of a requirement. One sprint in the sense, for a couple of sprints you don't have enough requirement, and suddenly the requirement comes up and then you don't have enough sprints. That's not the way to go. Minimum viable product, that's very important. What is the must have should go right now to validate our hypothesis? And the MVP is directly related to cost, because when we are investing cost, and then the purpose of MVP is, should we pour in more money into this one? It looks good idea, but we have to validate, right? That's why the MPV, able to identify the MVP correctly, it's very important skill. And obviously enabler stories, technical debt has to be given some priority. It cannot be always on a low priority, right? So those are the ones we already discussed. We have few more this time as well. So let's look at it. The first one, which word comes to your mind when we look at this picture? Obviously related to
Future focus.
related to product owner. Yeah. Anybody else would like to give it a try? Okay, this one is about future focus, right? The vision has to be
Vision.
very clear, right? So if vision is not communicated to team, then what will happen? See, if the vision is very important, you might have read the books, the first one, Autonomy, Mastery and Purpose. Let me share. The first one is Daniel Pink, right? What he talks about, what motivates people. And he said the autonomy, mastery and purpose, right? So when we talk about autonomy, mastery and purpose, the purpose, why we are building this one. And he gave very good example, like Britannica encyclopedia, right? We all know, but now no more talks about it. Why? Wikipedia is there, but Wikipedia, who is giving money? I can write on my own, right? Wikipedia. If I think that, okay, this is a new article I would like to publish, I can create. And then you all can go there and then modify it, refine it, right? Fine tune it. But nobody is giving us money. But it is one of the largest knowledge base available right now. But nobody is getting money for creating it, because they know that the purpose, why this is being created, and then they are into it. So probably vision is clear where we are heading towards, then certainly it will bring some motivation to team as well. The same thing is talked in the another book, which is written by Patrick Lencioni. He talked about anonymity, irrelevance, and immeasurement. So irrelevance. If the team members feel that the work which we are doing is not related to me, or how it is going to impact the end user, customer, stakeholders, then probably there won't be any charm in it. So if you have the vision communicated to team, the team will charge it up. Right? They should know that what problem the vision will solve it for the end user. Obviously that has to be communicated, then only the funding will be there. But probably if we just look at the return on investment, and we are not talking about how it will help the end user, then probably we are not going to get money. Temporarily, yeah, but for long run, we have to make sure the needs of an end user is satisfied. So if it is not there, then the team feels disconnected. It's kind of one-way traffic, right? It's kind of a command control. This is what needs to be done. But if the why part is missing, people don't think about creativity, innovatively fix a problem. They won't have any suggestions given to the product owner. Okay, can we do this and this? Because they don't know, they are not connected. So how we can avoid this one? Let the project kick off, right? Share the vision, share the benefits. Who is going to benefit by this one? How they are going to benefit? What is the problem we are trying to solve right now. Right? And also share that how the backlog is aligned with the vision. If something is to be done, it should fit the vision, right? We talk about the invest for user stories, the valuable part. But where it is valuable, how it is valuable, if you know the vision, probably you will be able to get it. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult. So building the right product the right way, that would be the key. I have seen that uh, when we implemented or adopted Scrum methodology for one of the team, and then there were many sessions like before the project, after the project kickoff, and then when the sprint one was supposed to start, before that we had a few sessions, and probably every day we used to work together, in the sense the whole team was working together, and then they were given the option, not option, but they were explained that what all is, why we are doing this one, what all needs to be done. And in the first and second stream, team members came to me and told them that till this time we used to do whatever was told by the tech lead, but now we understood. No doubt they really spend at least 5 to 6 hours every week before the actual sprint one started, but that really helped them. They were really connected to it. So that is the correct way. And then the vision is must be communicated to team, and all the requirements or sprint backlog should be related to vision and the problem we are trying to solve. Let's move to the second one. So this is a common challenge. Whenever something is given to product owner, the product owner say, I need to make sure that this one, I get all the details and then we'll come back. So the pitfalls I would say is limited authority as product owner. Now let me very clearly highlight, or Vijay, would you like to highlight the product owner and pseudo product owner, the authority given to like business analyst and product owner? Do you want, do you recollect any incident from your experience and would like to share?
Yeah, I think many times it happens that I have seen, especially when there's a product owner who's especially about 12 hours or 10 hours away in time zones. In those cases, I have seen that the proxy product ownership is actually given to someone who is actually with the development team, especially in the distributed Scrum scenario. In those cases, I have seen, I mean, about 25%, I think, was really working well, especially when the person who's the proxy product owner was actually empowered enough to make certain decisions. But 75% of the times I have seen that the other person was actually a mere postman. In those cases, even if the information was actually passed on, I have seen the development team asking certain questions. I've seen the product owner, the proxy product owner saying that, I think so, let me check, I'm not sure. So the guarantee or the kind of, confidence that we want out of a product owner, 75% of the times I have seen not working that way.
Yeah, very true. The
I
result,
think so,
as you mentioned just
we have
now,
someone.
the
Yeah, we
decision
also have
takes
someone in
very
this,
long time.
Yeah. We have also someone who's a proxy product owner here, senior business analyst. Maybe he can share something if we. How's the scenario for him?
It is me, Noor Muhammad here. I'm working in Bangalore, emphasis location. So my part of being as a product owner is actually, I sometimes my product, because it is ours is a client-driven project. So most of the time the product owner will not be available. So that time, being as a senior business analyst, I have to, associate with the team members in order to creating the user stories, estimating the user stories, allocating the user stories, committing the user stories, and collaborating with the stakeholders in various perspectives in across the countries, because we were covering up the entire APAC region. There are multiple countries are there associated with our projects. So these are all the major activities that I have to do. The user stories part I have to do, and sometimes, like if it is like decision part, yeah, that time I need to check with the product, the real actual product owner, because I'm just a proxy product owner. So that time I have to check with him. Uh, that's a thing that being as a proxy product owner I will be doing. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So
Yep.
Rahul, I would like to share my recent reading actually. I was reading a book like Scrum Mastery actually. Yep. So in that book, I read proxy PO role should be avoided, but if
Yeah,
at all we should need to have that, then in that case PO should free up and delegate work of like verifying the stories, doing UAT, doing testing. Those those type of things can be delegated to proxy PO, and then PO should actually the time he saved, he can he can use that time to communicate with the team. So that was actually, yeah,
Yeah,
in 75% cases that, as you told, this can be applied.
yes, it is there. So what
yeah,
we have to keep in mind is we have to make sure the pseudo product owner or the business analyst should be given some responsibilities. The authority should be there to take decisions on their own. At least for the sprint which is ongoing, he should be able to take decisions on their own. Otherwise, for every small issue, if they have to consult with the product owner, that doesn't work well. Even this is one issue about the pseudo product owner or the business analyst. Another one is even at the product owner, right? As a product owner, they have to consult. It's kind of, and they have a committee who will take decision. That doesn't work, right? If the committee is there, probably the committee is accountable. That means no one is accountable. That shouldn't be the case. The missing ownership and accountability will come into picture. And even the acceptance of stories, right? If everybody is not available, a committee is not available, and then a demo or review is there and plan, someone say okay, I accept, and some other people say no, or we haven't seen it, or someone says no, we other people also should see it, then only we will approve. That doesn't make sense. And if this happens, that there is an impact, very big impact on the team. They have the apprehension on the decisions taken, right? Right now they say yeah, go ahead with this one, but in the back of the mind they will feel yeah, if they ask someone else, then probably the decision might change. That's not the way to go. So the product owner, we have to make sure that the product owner should be given authority to take decisions on his own. And that is a very key aspect. You need to make sure that okay, these are the pros and cons before even the Scrum Agile adoption. They have to finalize that this is the way it will work. Take the responsibility when the decision power comes, right? When the author accountability also will come together. So if that works, then fine. But otherwise, for most of the cases, we need to make sure that the 80-90% of decisions should be taken by one person. You should be able to say, yeah, go ahead. And that also, timely decision has to be the key. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Right? Let's look at the next one. Setting up the priorities. It's a very key aspect. So last time we already covered about MVP, the minimum viable product. Right? Bit similar to that one, but still, when we talk about the prioritization in terms of number of features and the items, and then the MVP, it's a bit different. So I have kept it very separately. That if all the product backlog items have the same priority, it's not going to work. If prioritization is missing, right? what will happen? See, normally we will do the backlog refinement for upcoming couple of sprints. Now, if the priority is same for all the items, whatever we pick up, right? We don't know, because if the priority is same, then it may or may not be implemented in the next sprint, or may not be implemented for the release as well. If that is the case, we are actually creating wastage, right? So in terms of getting the detailed estimates, getting some more details into it, and then probably we are not going to implement those items. And if the priority is not assigned, probably many times you might have seen, right? The mid sprint changes are there. They say, okay, no, this is not important. Or they say, okay, do this as well. This is very priority. How come you were not aware? I have seen that people in any big organizations as well, sometimes they say, okay, to product owner, this one must go in the next quarter. Why? Is a regulatory requirement. But if you check back, right, from where, from when the government has identified, or government normally or regulatory body will give enough time to implement. They will say, okay, you have 1 year to implement this one. But the business and everybody, they will come on the last moment when the last 3 months are remaining. This one is very critical. So it was important and non-urgent, but they make sure that now it becomes important and urgent and must do this one. That is not the way. Then the mid-sprint changes will happen. When I was in Allscript, we had an agile coach, and he used to give very good example. I was working as a scrum master at that time. He said, what to do about the mid-sprint changes? Sometimes they say, okay, now this one is also very important. This one is much more important than the items which you have picked up in the sprint. So normally we say, okay, can we move some of the items out of the sprint and then pick up? No. Everything is important. This one is very critical. So he told us one secret. He said, normally what you have to tell a product owner that, see, we have space for 4 parking space for car, and all cars have been parked, maybe Nano or whatever. All cars have been parked. Now, if you come with Mercedes or Audi and they say, okay, this must be parked, this is very important, then they have to move 1 car out, right? Otherwise, if they try to fit 5 cars in 4 parking space, that's not going to work. You will have loss of value, right? So probably in terms of quality and other aspects, we said you move 1 car out, whichever you feel, and then we can park your new car. So you move 1 user story out, and then we will pick up the new user story, which you think is much more valuable. And then that's how we will go. I like that one very much. Very simple answer, simple question to the product owner. And then, but this one we are talking about, if the prioritization is missing, then probably the mid-sprint changes will happen. Right? And then value is not delivered to for 80% of stakeholders, right? So how do we avoid this one? So follow 80-20 Pareto principles, right? Understand which will give you better return. So the example I was going to talk about, right? This one. So when I was working in BMC software for a product, they had around 3,000 customers. And if you have 3,000 customers, always, obviously you will have many defects as well. So customer reported defects were around 1,700, 1,800. Yeah, the product was in the market for around 8-10 years. And they had now 1,700, 1,800 defects. And they said, okay, we want to fix all defects. Now, it's not possible, right? So management say, oh, close all the defects, but that is also not possible. Though there were 3,000 customers, around 50% of the customers were through partners. So partners were there in between, and they were selling it to end users. So now what to do about this one? So we did some analysis on this one. Because now it comes to the prioritization, right? Around 1,700, 1,800 defects. How do you prioritize? So we followed few things. We categorize our defects, that in which area the defect comes. So we identified, okay, these are the 3 areas where we have around 70% of all those defects. But even if we consider those 70% of defects, we won't be able to fix those many defects, right? So then we again had to prioritize. How do we prioritize? Now, one problem can be faced by multiple customers, right? And the system had that data that a particular defect is reported by how many customers. So we looked at it and then we found that, okay, around 100 defects were reported by 2 or more customers. So we said, okay, pick all those 100 defects. We will fix those defects. So we will make sure that maximum customers are happy. But there were few others as well. How do we prioritize? Then we looked at it, that which customers are giving annual revenue of at least 100K USD. And then those who are giving more than 100K, I think not one, even there were customers for 1 million as well, up to 1 million per year annual support contract. So we picked up whoever is giving us a certain limit, 100K or 500K, and we said, okay, these are very important customers. They're every year they are supporting us, right? So take all those defects which have been logged by them. Okay, so we had some another bunch available to us. Then there were different support contracts as well. A normal, a 9x5x5, or 9x5x7, or 24x7, or 24x5. And there were another category, premier support. Premier support is something like whatever the environment the customer had, we will replicate the environment at our end, and we'll make sure if they call us, and then we'll try to replicate and fix them. So there were some issues reported by them as well. Obviously, like Airbus was one of the customer, and then they said, okay, we don't want to upgrade to latest version because we fear that, okay, something right now our system is very much stable, and obviously Airbus certainly they don't want to mess around it. And we said, okay, we will provide you the fix on your environment, because we wanted to make sure that the customers, the end users are happy. We get the maximum return. So with these prioritization techniques, we fixed those defects, and rest of the defects we said that it doesn't fit into the prioritization or the features backlog, and we will be closing them, and we closed them. Obviously, we received some feedback from customers and partners. You know, this is very important, around 30-40, and say, oh, if it is important to you, we will fix it, and we fix it. So we fix around 200 plus defects out of 1700-1800 defects. But that's the one way to do the prioritization. You cannot have everything at the same priority. One more thing you can do is pick up a tool, whatever tool you would like to, where you can assign the priority one to only one user story or one feature. You cannot have one for multiple user story. That means if the product owner will have option, okay, we can set one priority for multiple user stories, and that will be a big trouble for you as well. So that is not the way. But yeah, this one is very critical. We will talk about the prioritization techniques maybe in a separate session, that what are the different techniques, Kano and other techniques which can be used for prioritization, how Scrum Master also can help product owner and other stuff. Anybody would like to share their experience on the prioritization? Good, bad experience, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, simplest example I used to give, or the product owners I was coaching, they always had this trouble about prioritization, because there's something hypothetical number that we say as business value. So especially in India, I used to ask them, imagine you are on a boat in middle of the sea and you do not know how to swim, and you have all these requirements on your boat. Your boat is getting heavy because of these requirements, and there is a hole in it. Now the only option that you have is you have to throw away those requirements in the sea so that your boat becomes lightweight. So what is the first requirement that you'll throw away? I will give you that the least important are more heavy, most important are less heavy. So imagine the sequence that you will actually throw away. So keep on throwing, keep on throwing, keep on throwing. You will reach the ones which are really, really important to you. So, and many times people used to, yeah, I think this helps.
Yeah, wonderful example, Vijay. Thanks for sharing. That really works well. Did anybody throw you out for giving this example? It's a good example, but for product owner, somebody telling product owner that throw the requirement, those are very dearer and nearer to you.
One of the product owner is like with Bank of New York Melon. He didn't really throw me away, but he said in his own Bengali accent that, "Show me." Imagine you are the product owner in my place. You are in that boat, and now tell me. So that was a funny incident.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
think, but a very good example. Yeah, we have some games as well, buy a feature and other stuff. That really you give some dummy money, right? Monopoly money, and then tell them, okay, now you have only certain amount, and the backlog you won't be able to purchase everything. So which one you would like to purchase, and then they will have to figure it out and play. That is also you can play, and then that really works. Buy a feature that you can search.
Yeah.
Rahul,
The best way I believe is if you cannot decide, then involve more and more people in that decision making.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody was saying something.
this is Rajesh Asana. Yeah. Um, 2 years back, I joined a team as a team coach where I saw the backlog, which is having almost 1,200 bugs.
Okay.
Okay. So I analyzed what is the velocity. It's a Kanban team, how much they can deliver, what is the throughput for every release, and all those analysis I did. And it is way beyond. The product owner or the team is never bothered about the bugs count, which is increasing in the backlog. Okay. Now, based on the hippo, like who paid highest paid, the decision was taken by the product owner. That way it is going. So I took time and analyzed the bugs by laying a graph across the time since when those bugs are created. Those were created since 2013. That means there are bugs which are lying for more than 5 years. So I went to a conversation with the product owner, told I found these things in a retrospective where with the entire team. I have an interesting findings. I see a pattern like I did not, the same thing what I want to achieve, what you told, that was my intention to achieve also. I took a different stance. I see that with these bugs, the customer is living for 5 years. Can't he live more?
Yeah.
That was a very insightful thought to the product owner. Then, okay, that's a good point. But then they started listening to me. They told like, let's draw a line till 2 years. So we just delete all the bugs which were created 2 years ago. Because if it's an important bug, already an escalation might have been made, which we might have already fixed, or in some form like it was. So we can straight away. So there was a decision made. So the product management was also involved. They took 2 years timeline. They gave 1 month. They marked every bug which is standing beyond 2 years. Marked a bug. They gave 1 month. If you want, mark it as high priority with the customer name and all that data, else that will be deleted after 1 month. And it came down to 400 bucks straight away.
Yeah, sometimes a very good example, Rajesh. Thanks for sharing. Really wonderful. You have to understand that how it is, what is the value we are giving by solving or fixing this defect or providing a feature. Otherwise, not going to work. So we had a very good option that, okay, when we do some changes, the customer will automatically notify that what is happening. And when you say we are not going to fix them, they came back and we were happy actually. Because those who came back, we said, okay, we will fix it all. But for others, it doesn't make sense. Good. Thanks for sharing. Okay, we have a few more. Hey, if that is happening, right? There are already so many features. Nobody is going to use like 80-20 rule. And then you say, okay, you will put used to the. So what I am trying to say here is the focus should be on the speed rather than focusing on the speed of delivery. The focus also should be on the quality. That we already talked about the prioritization. But when we are focusing too much on the speed, right? Deliver more features, more stories and other stuff. And then if the management is also kind of like how many features you have delivered, how many stories have been delivered, how many releases have been done, Oh, that is one parameter, right? For Amazon, they might release every second, every 2 seconds. But for a financial institution, the having the capability to deliver every day or every hour, it's good. But doesn't mean that you should be delivering every second, every minute, every hour. That is probably not required. Rather than the quantity of the deliveries, number of stories, you look at the quality of deliveries. Again, the Pareto principle comes into picture, right? I think the data, Vijay, do you have the number that how many features are not at all used if we deliver 100 features, right? Some of the
Yes.
features are rarely used. What is the number? Do you recall or anything?
Oh, yes. So if we categorize, so almost 13% of the requirement in any of the product, statistics says, are generally used by the customers. About 47% of the requirements are rarely used, and remaining are never used.
Oh my God. So 13% are the ones they are focusing on. Then why we focus on speed of delivery and release multiple user stories and features? Why not invest some time as a product owner with customers and stakeholders and users, how they are using, what are their pain points and other stuff, and then work on it. Don't look at the productivity and other aspects. Look for the what is the benefit. See, earlier also I told that the more focus should be on how to make customers happy. You will get the money right now, but if customers are not happy, probably you are not going to get the repeat business, right? Similar way, the focus should be on the what kind of user stories we are delivering, how it is benefiting the customers, right? So what is the result if we are not focusing on the quality or the value delivery? Wasted efforts in developing non-important features. It's a very important role for product owner then, right? Only 13. So if we include everything, around 60% might be useful, but not more than that. Then product owner has to be very choosy which feature should go into this one or validate it with customers. So how to avoid this one? Involve customers, partners for demo. Right? We had one product owner. She used to invite customers and partners. Probably some of the features which were requested by those customers and partners, and she will directly highlight starting on the first slide that we don't commit anything. If you are willing to attend this one, then perfectly fine, but we don't commit that these features will be part of the next release. And that is, I think, probably for legality and other aspect, that one was required, but we really got very important feedback from customers and partners. Rather than giving everything, probably they are more looking at the simplifications, and we are not looking it. And if, see, another byproduct of, if the speed is very high, if the number of stories are too many user stories we are delivering, the quality will be impacted. The work-life balance will be impacted. And then the customers won't be happy. And at the same time, there will be many escalations as well, because it is not working as expected. And then you have to spend as a development team. And again, the responsible or accountable is the product owner. He is responsible for return on investment, right? Some efforts will go into fixing the issues. I'm not going to get anywhere if focus is not kept on the quality aspect. And then the quality is good or bad, product owner has to accept or reject. If they are making even Ferrari, a product owner should know each and every feature, that how to drive it and what are all the features which are available, which they have built in, and spend time and money for this one. One of the last one for today is user stories. The way user stories are written is not considering the roles, persona, or benefit. The purpose of requirement is not clear. The vision is one, another one we are going at a low level. Even the purpose of requirement, we know the role, goal, benefit, right? As a user, I want to, what is my goal? And then what is the benefit I want to achieve, right? If the vague stories are there, then it becomes very difficult, right? Because many a times it depends on who is to consume the user stories. You won't believe, but we had one time a release which was specifically focused on the user experience. User experience in the sense that it should be clear, it should be intuitive. Normally, I think this story is about 10 years, 12 years back. We used to do right click and then the context menu will open, right? That is not intuitive. If a new customer is there, a person who is not that much familiar with computer and other stuff, not today's world, 10, 12 years back, at that time, then they say, okay, this is not visible. They won't know there are features available, right? So we have to make sure that it's very clearly available rather than putting a right click menu, you put it buttons and then it should be very clearly. In the same release, what we did was, how do we reduce the number of clicks which user has to do? So when you search and then if no records are found, once you search, then a pop-up will come and then you also have to click OK. And others. You might have seen, right? Nowadays, it's completely different. They have changed. So more user friendliness because they have understood that how the user works, right? Initially, it was very difficult for a new user. Like if you are in a nurses and other, right? They are more, they deal with patients, hospitals and everything. They may not be tech savvy. And then using the mouse sometimes becomes very difficult. So the keyboard support should be there and also the number of clicks which should be very minimal. So those were certainly targeted. So that one means what I want to highlight here is the user stories if focus on who is going to consume, that certainly works out well. The correct way of writing user story. Right? Probably a training is required or include it as a part of your definition of ready or face-to-face discussion, then you can ask, right? So why we need to do this one? Because the people can, or team members can become more creative, innovative, and to remove any barriers which are there, right? The reworks also will be reduced because the user expectation, you will come to know who is the person who are going to utilize this one. So that one is very key. So user stories should be written considering who is going to consume this one and what benefits we are trying to achieve on this one. Yeah, those are the 5 ones we covered today. Very quickly, this one what we covered last time. Today we covered the vision should be communicated to team. You should be able to relate your product backlog with the vision. The product owner is the sole decision maker. That's the way it works. We have to give full authority as a product owner to take timely decision and decisions which won't change frequently, right? The backlog items should have a different priority. It should be related to value and then should be end user in mind, which will give the better return. That's one should be put on priority. I think what Vijay had said, we have to consider, we have to help product owner coach that how they can prioritize the items and other stuff. Focus on the quality of the delivery, not focus on the number of user stories you deliver, because as I think the stats says that only 13% are the features which are used most frequently, others rarely or not used at all. And focus on the user stories, the way user stories are written. What is the purpose, who is going to consume, persona and benefits. Even the persona, probably we will another topic, we will take up this one. Yeah, that ends today's session. Thank you Vijay and Agile Waters for helping set up this one. Any